recording here. All right. So once you have downloaded it, okay, the second step, this part here, it depends on your operating system. So if you are using Windows or Mac OS 10, you can probably just double click on the zip file and have it unzipped somewhere on your own thumb drive. I would put it on the thumb drive, not the computer that you're working on, because unless you're confident that you can get the whole thing done in today's lab, otherwise it is much better to put it onto a thumb drive. And I know some of you are thinking, but I didn't bring a thumb drive. Nobody told me about it. It's okay. Zip the folder and upload it back onto your own Google Drive, right? Then you can you can download it again when you're home, on your own computer, and then continue to work on your project. Okay, so that's what you can do. All right. So in this case, I have unzip. What is the name of that file? It is drive download blah blah blah. Okay. Nope, that's not it. Double one. There you go. So unzip double one.zip, and it just creates a folder for me, which is double one. It will do the same thing in Windows. It will give you a folder called double one, and in that particular directory, you will find the .c, which are C source code files. If you feel comfortable working with GCC on the command line, that's all you need. Okay, you don't need anything other than GCC and an editor that you feel comfortable with. On the other hand, if you say, I was never taught how to use command line to compile programs, okay, which is okay, you can use the CBP file. This is the code blocks file for a project. Okay. If you say, I have never used code blocks before, then what tool have you used before for cisp310? If the answer is, I have not taken cisp310, then you know what I'm going to say, which I'm not going to say unless you ask me. Okay? So I'm hoping that one of these two methods will work with you, either work with code blocks or the command line GCC. Are we good? Okay, so if you have some experience with another IDE, but you have not used code blocks before, but you have taken cisp310, this is what code blocks looks like, and you can install code blocks for free because it's an open source program. So code blocks looks like this. Okay. In fact, I have an older version of code blocks. The version that you install today may look a little bit different because this is actually the older version of code blocks. I need to use my old person glasses because I can't see too close with my other pair. There we go. All right, so code blocks looks like this. Okay, I think code blocks may or may not be installed on these computers. Are they installed?
Mine have it.
Yeah, okay. So if they're installed, you can just go ahead and open code blocks first, okay? So unzip the file, unzip the zip file, create a new folder, and then open up code blocks. Inside code blocks, you can now tell it where to go to find the project. So in my case, I say open, and then I would navigate to my downloads folder, okay? And inside the downloads folder, I have already unzipped the double1.zip file into double one as a folder. So inside that folder, it would identify double1.cbp with a special icon because that is your code blocks project file. Are we good so far? Yes? Okay. Now, if you're not following or you cannot follow this quickly, it is okay. Because what I'll do is I'm going to release the video as soon as I'm done with this. So that means the video will be available to you in about, I would say, 4 or 5 minutes, after I close everything. So you will still have access to the video for the rest of this lab, so you can kind of follow the steps, step by step. Are we good? Okay. So in here, you want to click on double1.cbp, which is the project file, and then click open. And it will open with the file for you. And this is what you should see. do not click on the C file, okay? Click on CBP, which stands for Code Blocks Project, okay? There are just a few more things you have to do. So the other part depends on what is your number. So when you go to this file, okay, the first link, it will look like this. So what you need to do is to make a copy of this file first by clicking on File and make a copy. Now, when you say that, don't just click OK, because if you just click OK at this point, it will try to create a copy of this file in the practice subfolder that is mine, and you cannot do that. So what you need to do is to click on the folder and make sure that you navigate all the way back to your drive. So until you see my drive, which is yours, okay, you're not done yet. So after you get to my drive, okay, you can go back even further. But once you get to my drive, then you can create a new folder if you want to for this particular file. Or if you have a folder for cisp310 already, you can just kind of navigate to that subfolder and say, yes, this is where I want to keep my copy of that file. Are we good so far with that procedure? Yes?
How do we get the project files again?
The project file is the second link of the description of the homework.
Okay.
So I'm not going to do this step because I'm the owner of the file, so it's not going to do the same thing for me as it would do to you. But what you need to focus on is the cell that is shaded green, okay? If you cannot read this number, it's okay. It doesn't really matter, okay? But if you want to know, it says 8.424E minus 19, okay? It is a base 10 scientific notation, and that is a number that is specific to you. All right? So what do we do with this number, okay? And how does that relate to code blocks? So in code blocks, you have to go to project, okay? And in project, you navigate to set programs arguments. Now, if you're having trouble, listening to me, doing it on your own terminal at the same time, once again, this is all getting recorded. So don't worry, I will give you the video as soon as this is over, so that way you can just follow it, okay? So you click on Set Programs Argument, and this part is really important. Make sure that debug is highlighted, and then in Program Arguments, this is what you need to enter. I think the steps are described in the homework as well. Let me just double check. Yep, it is also described in the homework itself, except those are not screenshots, so they may be a little bit harder to follow. So you need to specify -n, okay? So let me go back to code blocks. Okay, so make sure your target is debug, and the program argument is going to be -n minus n, a space, followed by the number that you see in the other spreadsheet. So in my case, the number that I see on the spreadsheet is this number here. You can just copy and paste, okay? You can just copy this and switch over to code blocks and paste it like that. Is that okay? So this step is really important because if you don't do this, the program is not going to do anything. This is how you tell the program that the number that you need to convert is this whatever number that is pasted here. Are we good so far? Okay. So you click OK. And now we are ready to run the program the first time. Okay. So when you look at the program, you probably want to look into sources first. Okay. Sources is under the project's pane, and it has 3 source files. Of the 3 source files, 2 you do not need to touch. Now, you're more than welcome to play with them or take a look and understand how they work. Good, okay? But you don't need to change them. The one that you do need to change is exp10 to 2, okay? Exponent in base 10 to exponent in base 2. So you want to double click on that one. It will open a new tab in the window in the editing portion, and it will give you a function where it is defined, but the body is empty. That is where you put your code. Okay? What code you need to put in depends on which part of the homework assignment we are on. So we are on part 1, which is dealing with a number that has a negative exponent of 10. The next one is going to deal with an exponent of 10 that is positive. Okay? But for now, we can just focus on 1. Okay? So what you can do here is really just to put a breakpoint. Okay? Just as an exercise, making sure everything is working, put a breakpoint here. To put a breakpoint, you basically position your mouse to the right-hand side of a line number, but not in the editing area. And then you just give it a regular click, not a right click, just a regular left click. That will put a breakpoint there. Once you set a breakpoint, you can run the program, and it will run all the way to the breakpoint, where you can at least check that the input parameters of this particular function is correct. Okay? That's what we want to do, at least first, to make sure that you have the right data to work with inside the subroutine. Okay? So the way you run it with debug is not to click on the green run button. So do not do that if you intend to debug your program. Okay? The green button is going to run, but it's going to run the release version, which does not let you set breakpoints or to stop. So what you need to do is to either use the red play button, or you can go to debug and say start continue. Okay? They're basically the same thing. It's up to you to decide which one you want to use. So I'm just going to click on the red button here, and it will go through a lot of compiling messages in the debugger. So that's fine. And it says the perspective has changed. Do you want to save it? And you can click yes or no. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to click yes. And you can see that on top of the stop sign, you cannot see it's a stop sign when you're back. You just see a circle, but it really is a stop sign. So on top of the stop sign, now I have a yellow triangle. The yellow triangle is telling you that you are now, execution has paused at this point. So we are now at the end of the subroutine because there's nothing in the subroutine. So now is a good time to check out what the parameter is giving you. There's only one parameter, and you might say, but Tack, aren't we supposed to get the mantissa as well as the exponent of 10 and a whole bunch of other things? I'm giving you a pointer to a structure. So everything that you need are members of that structure. Okay? So how do you know what is inside that structure? So I'm not new. This is new to me, okay, because I'm used to command line tools. So I'm going to right click on pn, which is pointer to n, which is a number. And I'm going to say, what can I do with this? I can watch it. Okay, watching means you're basically monitoring changes to it as you execute a program. You can also go to command. Okay, this is what I usually go to because I'm much more used to command line stuff. And you can just say print whatever you wanted to print. If you want to print what is 4, say print 4. Okay? If you want to print what is pn, you say print pn, which is not helpful because pn is a pointer. All it's going to tell you is blah, 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 which is an address. Okay? It doesn't help you in any way. What you want to do is to say, what is it pointing to? In which case, it will give you the entire structure. I know the font is kind of small. You may not be able to see this, but I will just read it out. Okay? It says here $3. Okay? The $3 refers to which query in the debugger are we referring to. And then it says sign equals 0. Sign is a member of the structure pointed to by pn. And it is 0, which means the value represented is negative or not negative. It is not negative. The sign bit is a 1 if and only if the value is negative. Okay? It says mantissa is 8424. It is not 8.424 because we want to limit ourselves to integer arithmetics. Yes? Okay? The exponent in base 10 is negative 22, which includes the compensation of, originally we had 8.424, but because we are multiplying the mantissa by 1,000, so you can see that the exponent in base 10 is compensating for that by being 3 less than what it should be, or 3 less than what the input parameter is. Are we good so far? So all of this is done for you already. You don't have to write a parser. You don't have to come up with these particular values. Last item, exponent in base 2 is a 0, because at this point we haven't started the conversion process. Okay, so your code in this case is somehow to use what we have talked about in class and convert this particular structure so that exp10 becomes 0, exp2 becomes some negative value, okay? But I want the same value to be represented. So when you're all done, this is still representing the same value, except you have no exponent in base 10 anymore, or I should say the exponent of 10 becomes 0. Is that okay? Does that remind you of something that we did today in class? That stuff is also in the notes, so you kind of have a double exposure of that stuff, and you just have to code all of that stuff into here. Are we doing okay so far with this? So you do want to read the assignment description carefully. So I would just kind of point out why that is the case. Okay, so this part describes what you need to do for this homework assignment. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so these are your restrictions. One of the restrictions I didn't write here is you can only use integer arithmetics. So you can use I don't want anyone to use double as a type in the entire program. Okay, so no double as a type in the entire program. You can use addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, comparison. You can use bit shifting if you want to. Okay. When you're done, these are the requirements. The mantissa should be a value that has bit 63 set. Set means it is a 1. Yes?
I'm seeing 3 students who need the specified debugger program in the debugger settings, including me. So can you go over that?
Which part?
I can't use the debugger. It's telling me I need the specified debugger program in the debugger setting.
Okay. I will help you with that after I'm done with this. I will switch gear and try to use the PC to do the same thing, but that may not be recorded anymore because the PC doesn't have the software that I need. But you only need to do it once, so we'll go ahead and do that part. But let me just continue with the answer that you're supposed to come up with. Okay, so the mantissa should have bit 63 being a 1. Now that is a big requirement. A lot of people forget that one. Okay, now how do you know bit 63 is a 1? Well, I'll let you guys figure out how to do that. There are many ways to do it. You can either use a comparison, because if bit 63 is a 1, what is the smallest value where bit 63 is a 1? Figure out that constant. Compare to that constant. If the unsigned number is greater than or equal to that constant, you're good. If not, you need to do something to make it bigger. Okay? Exponent of 10 should be 0, because that's the whole point. We want to convert the number from being expressed as a power of 10 to a power of 2. exp2 can be any integer, and it is signed, which means it can go negative. It needs to go negative in this case. The represented value should be preserved as much as possible, which means you will introduce errors in the process. But I want that error amount to be minimized. So you will have to think about rounding, okay? And also maximizing the mantissa before dividing, okay? All of those are the techniques that you need in order to minimize the error of the represented value. What you need to turn in is not your program, okay? What you need to turn in is for the number that you're specifically working on, what is the mantissa? And also what is the exponent in base 2? Now, if you say, that I don't know exactly what I need to do, let me show you what you need to do. When you're all done and you come up with an answer, you can just copy and paste this portion. Whatever Pn is pointing to is supposed to be the answer at the end of the subroutine. So that should contain the mantissa. The exponent of 10 should be 0. The exponent of 2 should be some negative value. That is what I need for grading this assignment. Okay? Now, if I suspect anything, I will ask people to turn in their code as well. Okay? So even though you are not required to turn in the code as a part of the homework assignment submission, I might ask certain people if I have any suspicion for those people to show me your code. Is that okay? Because I think it is unwise not to work on this, as much as possible by yourselves. Okay, you can work together in a way by explaining concepts to each other, by asking the other person, okay, I'm stuck here. Can you tell me what I can do to debug the program? But not directly asking the other person to say, okay, show me your code so I can just copy it. Okay, that would not be wise. Even though the homework assignment is not worth a lot of points, the process that you're going through in doing this homework assignment is studying for the next exam. So look at it that way. So do we have any questions before I shift gear to use the PC to help you guys resolve that debugger issue? Yes?
So we'll submit our results to the text box?
Yes. Yep. So the submission should be fairly short and simple, and it is specific to the number that you are supposed to work with. Okay? So is that instruction okay? All right. So I'm going to shift gear now. The record is still on because I think just having the audio portion may be helpful, and I might be able to replicate some portion of what I'm doing on the PC on the recorded side. So I'm going to keep it that way. Okay. The message was, what was the message again?
You need to specify a debugger program in the debugger settings.
Okay. So that usually is under settings and under debugger. And what is probably happening is under GDB/CDB debugger, it is the default is not defined. In other words, the executable path is either undefined or it is defined to be something that is non-existent. Okay. So what I'll do is I'm going to bring up the PC first and then get into code blocks so I can show you what you need to do. Okay. All right, so you guys can look at this. I'm starting this in code blocks. All right, so there we go. And then we go to settings, debugger, go to default, and it's empty, right? Is that what you guys are seeing? It's all red? Okay. So what you need to do is to go click on the ... and we have to manually look for the debugger thing. Now remember, this part is not recorded, okay? Because I'm actually looking at a different computer from the one that I'm using, but you will still be able to hear my instructions in the video, okay? So, so you double click on code blocks. Okay, let me do it one more time. Okay, so you get into code blocks first. Then you go to settings, which is the second to the right hand side of the menus. Once you click on settings, you go to debugger, okay? And then you click on that, and then you click on default, which is under GDB/CDB debugger inside the debugger settings. Click on that one, and then you click on executable path. This is where you need to find the folder for the code blocks debugger.
What path is that down is what I meant to ask.
Oh, okay, I see.
It started me in downloads because that I just opened the double one.
Oh, okay. Well, the path to the debugger is not there anyway. So you probably need to go to this PC, go to the C drive, and then go to program files. I don't know exactly which one, so I'm going to try program files with x86 first. And code blocks is here, that's good. So under code blocks, go to mingw, M-I-N-G-W. And then under that, you want to go to GDB32, I'm going to guess. And under GDB32, you want to go to bin. And under bin, you should see GDB32.
Is that our final destination?
I don't know for sure. I have to test it. So click open, and it is still in red. Full path to debugger's executable. Executable cannot be found on the file system. That should not be the case.
It should work.
It should work. So I'll give it a try, right? So we'll give it a. So let's start a new project. New, okay, new project, and I want just a simple one. Too many choices. I want a command line project. So let's see. Just have to go through this one by one. Console application, there we go. Click next. I want a plain C program. And I want this to be just test. And I want this to be created in my own folder. Okay. There we go. Create this, blah, 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 blah. Everything looks good. Finish. All right. So now when I look into sources, I have one main file. And I just need to know whether it can stop. So I set a breakpoint. I click on the red arrow. Remember, do not use the green one. Use the red one. It should go through the compiling, blah, 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 blah. And it changes the perspective. Say yes. Yep, so it did stop. So that approach worked. All right. So what I'm going to do in the recorded video, because I know somebody's going to ask, right? So I'm going to go to my trusted mouse pad as a way to just kind of jot down some notes. Okay, so in code blocks, click settings as a menu, okay? Then you click debugger. So what you're seeing here is not what I'm typing. I'm just repeating the process, okay? So go to debugger here, and then you want to click default, okay? That will bring you here. And then you want to change the executable path to C:\/ files x86 in parentheses / code blocks / mingw / not that long. I mean, it's okay. GDB32 / bin / GDB32.exe. And that's it. And then click OK, and everything should be good. Is that okay? So switching, are we ready to switch back to the video recording? Okay, so in the video recording, I just typed everything that I said.
Is there a reason why all the computers didn't have that set up?
I do not know. I don't set up these computers. And what I would also do is I'm copying this instruction and go back to the class website and go to announcement. So I can send this to you as an announcement. So you cannot possibly lose it now. because I do want to make sure everybody can get this started. Okay, configure GDB in code blocks. There we go. So here's another question. What do I do when I get home? Because it is very unlikely that you can get this project all done during the lab time. So what are you going to do? Wait until the next time we have a lab? No. Install code blocks. Okay, install code blocks on your own computer. It will run in Mac OS X. It will run in Linux. It will also run in Windows. So just go ahead and download code blocks. Where do you find code blocks? Look for code blocks in Google. The first link is the correct link. It will bring you to the main page. And under the main page, there's a link called Downloads. Under Downloads, you have to be careful because in Windows, there are several versions that you can download. So under Windows, okay, you can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 variations. So of the 6 variations, you want to have the one that includes MinGW, because that will include GCC, GDB, and all the other binary tools. Between the 3 that has MinGW in it, I would just go for the one that says setup. Okay? If you do not have any administrative access to the computer that you want to install code blocks to, you probably want to go for the next one, which is the MinGW, but with a -no setup. That's just a zip file. Unzip it onto a thumb drive, and you can run it from the thumb drive. There's no actual installation in that case. So are we good so far? Okay, so I would recommend installing it onto a thumb drive. So this way you can basically just bring the thumb drive with you with the tool as well as your project and plug it into any PC running Windows and be able to continue working on your program. On the other hand, if you have your own laptop computer and you prefer to install this on your own laptop computer, then you can go for one of the 3 options at the bottom. As long as MinGW is included, you'll be okay. So are we okay with this process? Okay, so I will stop the recorder right now. So this way I can release it as soon as possible. So if anyone is having problems following the instructions, you can just kind of open up the video and watch that instead.